Hello everyone. Welcome back to Improved Version, a channel dedicated to sharing profound knowledge on holistic personal development through the lens of the world's greatest books. Today, I would like to share with you a very bold and thought-provoking book. What makes it so strikingly bold is that it directly points out to you and me that we are very likely living among the most ignorant people in the history of human civilization. It sounds like an insult at first, doesn't it? We are, after all, living in an unparalleled era of information explosion. We have technology, high-speed internet, and artificial intelligence constantly evolving right before our eyes. We carry the sum of all human knowledge in our pockets. But the book we are exploring today makes a daring move based on meticulous research and statistical data to prove that access to information is not the same as possession of knowledge. If you want to truly surpass yourself, if you want to accept your limitations and be willing to break through them, to take a simple yet fundamental step towards self-improvement and a better life in this new era, then let's explore today's book, Head in the Cloud by William Poundstone. The title of this book translates directly to the brain in the cloud, and it implies that our minds are often clouded with a thick fog of confusion, obscuring our clarity and hindering our progress without us even realizing it. We think we are connected to the cloud of information, but in reality, our internal storage is emptier than ever. Now, please settle in and listen. Are you incredibly uninformed in this day and age? The author presents a very compelling point of view. He argues that this is an era where people lack fundamental knowledge and deep understanding more than any previous generation. You might be unconvinced and have many questions. You might say, this is the golden age of knowledge. People pay for online courses every year, spending more on education than people in the past paid for their entire lives. While it is true that people today have easier access to facts, the author argues that the quantity and depth of knowledge fields are increasing at such a dizzying pace that we are actually falling behind. This is an era of explosive growth. No individual, no matter how diligent or intelligent, can fully grasp even a narrow field of study anymore. Furthermore, the deterministic nature of knowledge is gradually disappearing. What is considered a scientific fact today may be proven wrong tomorrow. Compared to this vast and unpredictable ocean of information, our learning pace as biological humans is too slow. Yet, strangely, we are not proactive enough in seeking out or updating our knowledge because we assume the internet will do it for us. So, what are the consequences of this shift? People in modern society are gradually becoming ignorant in many critical areas. To back this up, the author points to statistics from a 2010 survey which found that 41% of American adults could not name their own vice president. 20% of those surveyed thought that lasers worked by focusing sound waves, and a staggering 58% did not know who wrote the classic novel Moby Dick. Perhaps most hilariously and sadly, 4% of people believed the author of the book was Stephen King. This demonstrates a widespread lack of understanding in American society. If a similar survey were conducted elsewhere, the results might be just as startling. The author and his research team conducted a large-scale survey with questions aimed at determining whether people met the criteria of being knowledgeable. Here are some examples of the questions they asked. As you listen, try to see if you're absolutely sure of the answers yourself. Where is the cradle of human civilization? Which continent does Egypt belong to? Which civilization first used hieroglyphic writing? Why is it daytime for us while it's nighttime elsewhere in the world? Why is Pluto called a dwarf planet? What does the Industrial Revolution actually mean? Through what means did Christianity develop and spread to the Near East? Why is the heart considered a special organ? What are the signal lights indicating arrival from the mainland called? And for Americans, what is the meaning of the 4th of July? For those of us elsewhere, we might ask, what does our own Independence Day signify? These are the most basic points of general knowledge. Some people think the whole thing is easy, but the situation isn't as optimistic as they think. Even the few who answered correctly only managed to get about 7 out of 10 questions right on average. Many people immediately object to this kind of testing. They say this information is not practically useful. I can find all of that in 5 seconds with a Google search. What's so serious about remembering or not remembering trivia? If you have this kind of thinking, chances are you're falling prey to what psychologists call the Google effect. This is a phenomenon where people become overly reliant on online search engines. Because we know the information is out there, our brains tend not to store it in here. But we need to understand that knowledge has a vital hierarchy. One layer is built on top of another. Without a solid foundation of basic knowledge, you cannot understand the higher, more complex levels of any subject. Even if you look something up, you won't have the context to fully grasp its significance. Furthermore, in daily life, you have to make thousands of decisions. Every choice requires an underlying understanding to evaluate and judge wisely. Without foundational knowledge, even with the entire internet at your fingertips, you won't even be able to recognize when you're making a mistake. There's a fascinating case study in the book about the gluten-free craze. Many people now believe that gluten is a primary cause of health issues like diabetes or inflammation. Therefore, brands spend millions on advertising to emphasize that their products are gluten-free. Imagine you have 2 boxes of potato chips in front of you. One box is labeled gluten-free and is significantly more expensive. The other box has no such label. Which would you choose? Most people choose the expensive gluten-free option because they searched online and heard it was healthier. However, this is a wrong choice born of ignorance. Gluten is a protein found in wheat and barley. It is not naturally present in potatoes. Labeling a potato chip gluten-free is like labeling a bottle of water fat-free. It's a marketing trick that preys on people who don't know the basics. More seriously, there's much knowledge you cannot find online if you don't know what you're looking for. Without a comprehensive foundation, you wouldn't even know a certain topic exists. How could you possibly know the keywords to search for it? The author calls this emptiness in the brain a state of extreme ignorance. Extreme ignorance means not knowing that one doesn't know. It is the lack of awareness regarding your own lack of knowledge. A person who remains in this state for too long becomes trapped in the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is a behavioral paradox where the most incompetent people are often the ones who most drastically misjudge and overestimate their own abilities. In one study, students were asked to self-grade their exams before seeing the results. The students with the highest scores were very accurate, even slightly modest about their performance. However, the students with the lowest scores gave themselves unusually high marks. They were so uninformed that they didn't even know what a correct answer looked like. You can see this everywhere in life. Many drivers with poor skills confidently believe they are the best on the road. This isn't just arrogance, it's a lack of the internal tools needed for self-assessment. When your brain is empty of facts, it leads to self-delusion and flawed judgment. When you fall under this effect, you're also easily manipulated by memes, not just funny pictures, but the original definition of the word. Units of cultural information that spread from person to person. You become trapped in a fixed cultural pattern, controlled by the hive mind. and unable to recognize your true state within that environment. It's easy to become complacent, believing that your current level of understanding is good enough. This combination of lack of knowledge and self-satisfaction makes people find ways to justify their ignorance. The author calls this rational ignorance. Rational ignorance is the tendency to believe that it is unnecessary to learn certain things, if the cost of learning them in terms of time or effort outweighs the perceived immediate benefit. Usually, these benefits are measured only in monetary terms. When I was in school, I often heard adults say that only kids who are good at math or science will make money. They said studying literature or history was a waste of time and led to poverty. Today, many people still think reading poetry or understanding art is useless. They only read how-to books on getting rich or gaining success. But is this specialized, narrow focus actually beneficial? To answer this, the author conducted numerous surveys to see how comprehensive knowledge affects quality of life. The results were clear. In this digital age, people with broad knowledge across various fields, literature, history, geography, science, and culture, tend to live wealthier, healthier, and much happier lives. Why is it essential to upgrade your foundational knowledge? Because people who lack general life skills often face more economic difficulties. Researchers looked at a group of 35-year-olds with similar university degrees. The group that scored low on a general knowledge test earned an average of $40,000 per year. Meanwhile, those who scored in the top tier earned an average of $95,000 per year. That is a massive difference of over 200%. Why such a gap? It's because people with broad general knowledge share a common trait: curiosity. Their curiosity drives them to learn about many fields, which makes them more adaptable and better at problem solving. As their income increases, they have more resources to expand their knowledge even further. It is a positive, upward cycle. Secondly, a lack of inner knowledge separates a person from a happy life. There's a famous study by Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman, which pointed out that for many Americans, happiness increases with income up to about $75 a year. Beyond that, the curve flattens. But for those earning well below that, life is full of stress. As the survey showed, those with high general knowledge are far more likely to earn that happiness-inducing income, while those without it face lives of insecurity. Another study proved that extreme ignorance can even lead to acting against one's conscience. Participants were asked if they would press a button to become a billionaire, if it meant a random stranger would die, provided no one ever found out. While most people would say no, there's a 1/5 rule in life, meaning about 20% of people will agree to even the most illogical or immoral things. Interestingly, the 20% who said they would press the button were almost exclusively those who scored the lowest on the general knowledge test. Ignorance and a lack of empathy often go hand in hand. Furthermore, people with solid general knowledge are healthier. They understand basic biological facts, like how bacteria affect the stomach or how nutrition works. They are not easily swayed by the fad of the month on social media. They know how to choose health care methods that are scientific and appropriate for their specific needs. But perhaps the most important thing we have to face is that a lack of knowledge doesn't just hurt you, it hurts the community and the world. The author conducted a survey with 16 general knowledge questions, 2 of which were simply about locating Ukraine on a map. He found that the people who could not find Ukraine were the ones most likely to support aggressive and uninformed foreign policies. They didn't know the geography or the history, yet they were the loudest in their political opinions. In an era where anyone can hide behind a keyboard, the ignorance of the masses can inadvertently ruin lives. Consider the viral incident from 2015 when a man posted a photo of director Steven Spielberg sitting on the set of Jurassic Park next to a mechanical triceratops. The caption jokingly called him a cold-blooded hunter who killed the animal for sport. Thousands of people shared the photo in a rage, calling Spielberg a monster. You might laugh because triceratops have been extinct for 65 million years, but that is the reality of extreme ignorance. Because those people didn't know what a triceratops was, they couldn't see the photo was a movie set. Their ignorance turned into a digital lynch mob. This is the danger of global ignorance in the age of information technology. So, what is the core way to break through this state? The most fundamental way to build a broad knowledge base is to start by grasping anchor points, or key pieces of knowledge. While deep, systematic study in one field is great, that's not what this book focuses on. Instead, it offers bold advice. Learn a wider range of things, even if you only know half of everything. It sounds strange, but in this age, we must prepare for the unknown. In the past, you learned to cope with what was already known. Today, you learn to be a detective. A detective never overlooks a clue, no matter how small. Every small fact you know becomes a lead that helps you solve the bigger problems of life. The more streams of knowledge you have in your head, the better. These streams act as keys to unlock new information online. The author recommends that in every major field, you should aim to understand at least 15 to 20 fundamental concepts. In finance, learn about inflation and compound interest. In science, understand entropy and gravity. In history, know the basics of the world wars. In psychology, learn about herd mentality and the ego. These concepts are the threads that will allow you to weave a tapestry of understanding. Only when you have these leads can you effectively use search engines or AI to go deeper. Without them, you are just a passenger in the digital age. Additionally, you can grow by connecting with talented people. This doesn't mean being their best friend. It means following their work and learning from their perspective. Competent people know who to ask when they are stuck. Incompetent people just fumble in the dark. The second step to breaking ignorance is to stop just observing and start remembering. The Google effect makes us forget information because we think it's always available. A classic example is students taking photos of lecture slides. They feel reassured that they have the info, so they don't listen carefully. But most of those photos are never looked at again. The most effective way is to not take the picture. Pay close attention, take notes by hand, and try to summarize the info in your own words. Use your tools as an extension of your brain, but do not let them replace your memory. When you store knowledge internally, you can react immediately when life demands a decision. Another vital way to break through is to develop your language skills. Studies show that people who speak and write precisely tend to earn more. Language is not just for talking, it is a tool for thinking. The more precise your vocabulary, the clearer your thoughts. As Albert Einstein once said, you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Precise language leads to precise thinking. As we look at the advice in this book, you might think it's just the same old message of keep learning. But there's a difference. Older models like the growth mindset or NLP often focus on deep, specialized expertise. The unique value of Head in the Cloud is its focus on popularity and accessibility. This method is for everyone. You don't need an Ivy League degree to use a search engine or AI to update your general knowledge. Even if you work in a very specific trade, like agriculture or mechanics. Broadening your horizons will help you see connections others miss. It will help you reach a higher level of expertise and improve your overall quality of life. The author, William Poundstone, is a living example of this journey. Despite being over 60, he is a lifelong learner. He graduated in physics from MIT but expanded into math, sociology, management, and literature. He has written over 14 books and is considered a king of best-selling intellectual literature. He shows us that when you stop having goals and stop learning, that is when you age the fastest. But when you stimulate your brain every day, you stay vibrant. Hopefully, today's sharing will inspire you to see the endless learning opportunities around you. May you find abundant sunshine on your journey toward intellectual enrichment. Take advantage of technology and AI to master your own mind rather than being shackled by it. Learn a little more each day, understand a little more. These small steps, when they accumulate, create a compound interest effect that can completely transform your life. These steps also contribute to dismantling the global wall of ignorance from its very roots. Thank you so much for listening to today's deep dive. If you found this discussion on William Poundstone's Head in the Cloud helpful and eye-opening, please consider supporting Improved Version. We believe that a more informed world is a better world, and we are on a mission to bring you the best wisdom from the world's most influential books every single week. Before you go, please give this video a like to help more people discover this content. Most importantly, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode. We dive into the most complex topics of human psychology, finance, and philosophy, simplifying them so you can use them to upgrade your life. Tell us in the comments, what is one subject you've always wanted to learn more about? We love reading your feedback and growing along with you. Thank you again for your incredible support. Keep seeking the truth, and we will see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.